We finally got a new design note for AQ2D AQ World Infinity. Let's check it out. We are rebuilding the world bigger, better, and it just might make sense this time. So we're rebuilding a massive game, AQ Worlds Infinity, which is coming to Steam, Apple, and Android, and will let you log into your existing character and stuff. Requires us to rebuild every monster, item, quest, cutscene, and everything else. For years, players have written to us about issues with AQ World's early storyline, so what if we fix these stories and flow issues? We only get one shot. Here's a screenshot of some of the characters. This game's project's motto is keep what we love, also make it better, and whispers, and tries to stop the dev from redrawing every single thing. Players have made themselves loud and clear that they want the game to stay authentic to the original. In the same breath, they also list 10 trillion things they want improved. Our artists seem incapable of keeping hands off the art, mostly because the super old art from the early years of the game had little shading and looked bad against the newer art. Arnix has been doing glow-ups on the art to bring them up to the level of quality with the new stuff being created for the game. JX, the game artist formerly known as J6, has been the art director guiding the changes so that things keep the feel of the original. Of course, this is still too much of a change for diehard fans of the old school. To which my solution to flash the meme of a little girl saying, why not both? Especially with this dragon below, we are putting both versions in the game. The new dragon with the improved shading will be in the new Dragon's Lair revamped story, but as a bonus we built a second version of the fight featuring the original dragon, along with some funny cutscenes to say in-game what every old school fan of the game is thinking. That is both funny and a good solution. Keep what everyone loves and also make it better. Oh, okay. So there's the old version and the new version, 100% better. How to improve the story without changing it. Creativity is a process. It can be a pretty wild ride. The process of creating the original version of AQ Worlds in 2009 was to make up new crazy things each year and release it for you to play. I wrote the beginning of the main storyline the same way that I run live events, with absolutely zero planning. When I wrote the words, the 13 Lords of Chaos, on that title screen in Flash, no one even knew what it meant yet. Not even me. No one really questioned it. We came up with weird stuff all the time and made it into gloriously memorable and funny things, but it also created a lot of weird plot issues, loose ends, and inconsistencies. True to the game's name, chaos has always been a part of my personal creative process. This brings me to the point. All of those weird plot inconsistencies are now painful to play through. Some of it is charming, but there are a lot of things that just do not make sense. We have a unique opportunity while rebuilding the game to make everything make sense. Also, a chance to make things more interesting for longtime players. Remember the first Chaos Lord? He was an MC Escher inspired battle mage with inversion magic. The maps for his area were all based on his MC Escher art. On MC Escher art. But what was his backstory? Why did Dracus choose him to become a Chaos Lord? Why did he invert the town? What was the weird cube thing in the storyline that you needed to defeat him? None of these questions were asked or answered in the game. Sure, some of these things were hinted at on old design notes, but who's going to hunt and read that now? Instead of just copy-pasting quest text, we used the collective power of our creative team to answer these questions. Renz and I have been spending a lot of time thinking about the above in relation to the new intro we're building. At the time of AQ World's release, the vast majority of our player base was in love with Dragon Fable. Sepulchre the Doom Knight was the main villain of that game at the time. Dracus was in the game too, although he was still human. The intro was created to shock longtime fans of our games, but it did assume that you knew who Sepulchre was. A new player would have no idea who these characters are or what was happening. Sort of how I felt at the beginning of Game of Thrones. If we want to have that moment in Infinity, spoiler, we do, then we need to have a proper setup which introduces the hero to these villains and cast of characters prior to that event taking place, which dangles a scary option in front of us. Should we create a new story that happens before the 13 Lords of Chaos? I guess the question is anyone else crazing a little more I think it means craving a little more Sepulchre time in AQ Worlds. Gravelin comic book? We should talk about this too. So there's an image of a comic book. A year or so ago, we finished a comic book for AQ Worlds called Gravelin. Gravelin? It's Gravelin. Pronounced Gravelin. Okay. I always say Gravelin, so it's a good thing it mentions here. So Gravelin. I'll have to remember that. It's just one issue and it has not been released yet. It starts a little bit before the undead invasion of Swordhaven and tells a story from Gravelin's point of view. She's an awesome main story character. We've been toying around with the idea of basing the intro of this story and having you collide with the events in the comic. One of the things I truly regret from the original AQ Worlds is that you never got to spend time with Gravelin and get to know her before that giant flying undead dragon castle fell through the sky. This is something I would like to do, but just because I like it does not make it feasible. This will increase the size of the intro a lot. A new player will need to complete the entire intro before entering the town of Babylon and then being able to access the rest of the game world. Worth talking about. The Dragon's Lair. We had been working on recreating an adventure from AQ Worlds' The Seven Deadly Dragon Saga. The maps, monsters, and machines are complete, but we still need the cutscenes and music before releasing it. The music sound effects system from cutscenes has just finished last week. Was just finished. This adventure was recreated with no changes from the one in the existing game. After talking about the intro, we decided before we start the equivalent of open heart surgery on the game's main story, we should try doing it in a smaller area and let you try it. That area is going to be Dragon's Lair. The Dragon's Lair has all the same issues that a lot of the early AQ Worlds adventures do. Who is this dragon? Why are we raiding his lair? Who are the Dragon Slayers? How can it be a fun little experience to be invited to join their order? Can we get some lava shaders and particle effects in there to make the map cooler? This is what the team is working on this week and next. A little screenshot of Immortal Joe setting up fireball thingy. It looks like it's the spell animation. You've got constant damage over time and aura effect. It's obviously set up for a skill one of the monsters is going to be using, I'm assuming. Features and combat. Since the last tech demo, programmers Warlick, Uromi, Tunic, and Spider have been working on that enormous list of bugs, issues, and features. Also some database help from Captain Rhubarb. For the most part, it's going pretty well. Warlick has been working on animating and converting the armors. It works like the weapon converter. It will not have its animations, but many items should be good enough to load and wear. However, the size of the Unity project resulted in no end of 6-hour build hangs and computer crashes. This morning he had a major victory with it. Spider's Skill Forge is a tool that will enable AQ World's balance and tester teams refine skills for the game in an incredibly fun way. We did our first content team review of it today, which was really exciting. Tunic has been on the triple duty of loot bags, dialogue cutscenes, and general UI. The priority has been loot bags. We did not like having to walk over the bags to pick them up, so we changed it so that the loot automatically flies up into a special loot inventory. This inventory does not take up any of your normal inventory space. The new items stay there so you can decide what to do with them. We found it was important to be able to view the item before moving it into your main inventory. Actually, we wanted to be able to see the main inventory and the loot bag at the same time with the item preview in the middle. Meanwhile, Uromi fixed all the server issues and has moved into the backlog of stuff, including being able to put quotes around names with spaces in them so you can send them private messages or go to them, because that's one of the issues that they had been facing. Wishlist AQ World Infinity on Steam. Thank you for following this game project. If you have not yet already, be sure to wishlist AQ Worlds Infinity on Steam. I'll put a link to the wishlist thing in the description below if you guys want to go and do that. Highly recommend you do, because this game is going to be next level. That is it for the design notes. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching and keep those swords swinging.